History about the house. We think it was built in 1878, roughly. And the only reason we know that is we went to the registration, and it was listed as like $300-400 for the property, and then it was sold for $300-400, and then in 1878 it was sold for like $800-or $900 and went up significantly. So we figure the house must have been built in 1878. And a long time ago, right after we moved in, we had company here, an older gentleman who said his grandfather had built the house, and I never got his name, and I've kicked myself ever since. And he lived here until the 20s, mid-1920s, and that's when Harold and Norma Thompson bought the place. And they had been married about 5 or 6 years before that and raised 2 children out of this house. And they lived here for 60 years. And we bought the place from them, Norma. Harold was already passed away in 1979, April, which would be 43 years ago right now, this month.
So the day we moved in, I recall we had 2 other couples helping us all of the time. And we were finally done, and we were sitting out just in front of the garage with the doors were open on the garage, I believe, and they just slammed shut. And at the time, somebody made the joke with everybody, oh, it's a ghost, they don't like you moving in, type thing.
No wind.
No wind. It was April. And, but I remember that, and it must have stuck in my head. And then I noticed after we did something, we would notice something funny. And the time in the bedroom that Eric was talking about was he had just wallpapered the walls in there. And I woke up in the night thinking the house must be on fire. And it was in the winter. And I remember thinking, well, that must be what it sounds like. It was like a ripping sound, and I thought it was flames in the wall. So I woke him up, and I said, I think the house must be on fire. And so, of course, he's feeling the wall, and he's, looking around. There was nothing. It wasn't an outside wall, so it wasn't just the frost, whatever. Sometimes old houses bang in the night. So we laid back down, shut the light out, and laid back down and started to go to sleep, and I heard it again. And so this time we sat up on the bed, and we turned around and we looked at the wall, and you could see where it was coming down, ripping the paper.
Wallpaper is ripped.
Yeah, and it was right between where we would be in the bed. It was right down the center. And so we watched it, nothing happened. So we shut the light off eventually and laid down again. Then I heard it again, or we did. So we got up and we're right on our hands and knees staring at the wall. And it had come over towards my side of the bed then. It just started on an angle coming down. And so I don't know how long we were on our hands and knees watching that wall, and nothing ever happened again. That was it.
How long were you here before things started to get weird?
It was pretty much immediately. I can remember the first time we were in bed and the lights turned on and off. At that time, we just had a pull switch on the ceiling, and I think we had a TV set in the bedroom. I'm not sure at that time, and we would turn the light off so we could see the TV better and fall asleep with the TV, and the lights come on, and so you'd sit up and turn the light off again with a pull switch, and then they'd come on again, and they did that several times.
like long after you had left, like moved out, that bedroom was if we were sick or if somebody couldn't sleep, you went into the spare room, which was usually me. And I noticed it. Like I'd just lay down and it'd just be this gentle sitting on the edge of the bed as if somebody was just going to sit there, and it was not frightening at all. It was just almost a comfort. Oh, just that you used to see
Mhm.
people. This one night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and I actually sat down on the toilet, and I felt somebody right there. And instead of being scared, I was mad. Mad that they would come while I was going to the bathroom. But I remember going like this, "Where are you?" You know, and there was nothing there. But I went back to bed and told Eric that I had felt something. I didn't see anything. I felt it, like they were right there in front of me.
Well, it seemed like every time you did any renovations, somebody was out and about. I never saw anybody. I used to see shadows occasionally, would walk by the foot of the bed. We had some work done, some drywall done by a friend of mine. And he also had a friend, an older gentleman that he used to visit with all the time. His name was Archie Young. And he had told Archie that he was going to be working here doing some drywall, and then anytime he wanted to stop by, just stop by and we could talk. And he said he was drywalling away, sanding, quite a lot of dust in the air. And he said he could hear somebody downstairs. Well, it's Archie. And so he looked down and he says, you could see a figure at the bottom of the stairs and all the dust. And he says, well, get out of the dust, Archie. I'll be right down in a minute. And he came downstairs, and he says he thought it was strange immediately because there was no footprints in all the dust that he had just made. He looked all over for Archie, and there was no sign of Archie.
Tell me about the time you used to hear a noise down in the living room every night.
That was a thump, and it usually was a full moon for some reason, and I had trouble sleeping on the full moon. Some people do. And I would come downstairs so as not to keep anybody else awake and sleep on the couch. Sometimes you'd watch TV and sometimes you didn't. And every morning, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, you heard a large thump on the coffee table that was right beside where I was. And I would wake up then and say, oh, I wonder what that was, and go upstairs and fall asleep. And I usually sleep the rest of the night. And I mentioned that to our neighbor who had been here several years before we bought the place. And he says, well, isn't that strange? Because that's exactly the same time that Harold Thompson died. He keeled over with a heart attack in the living room sometime around 3 o'clock in the morning. And Norma ran over and got him, and they phoned the ambulance and everything from that point. So. And then we seemed to get a new presence. And it was after my mom had passed away, and we thought it might have been her. And we would sleep in the spare room. And just before you fell asleep, there's just that little point in time before you fall asleep. You're kind of in a dream, and you're kind of not. You're conscious, but you're not sure. You could feel somebody sitting on the edge of the bed, and you could actually hear the wind coming out of the mattress. You could feel the bed going down in one corner. It was just shh. Somebody was there, and you were awake by this time, and there was nobody there, and there was no indent in the mattress. You could hear somebody sitting on the bed. It was just air coming out of the mattress. It was just somebody was there. And then when you woke up, there was not a sign, and it wasn't just me that saw this. Linda saw it too. And just recently, when I had my heart attack and was in the hospital, she felt that same presence in our room, which was unusual. And when you were a young boy, you used to, this is before you were able to lie really good, and you talked early, and you were in your room, and I think it was either your mom or me, and you says, there's a man in my room, he's sitting in the rocking chair, and he sits there every night. And you weren't alarmed by it because he was no threat to you or anything. It was just a guy in your room. So